And we're live! Yay! All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 8 of the Google Educator for the Washington, D.C. area, the GEG DMV. This is coding week, so we hope that you're pumped to join us for this awesome discussion. So welcome, everyone, to the group. We have a fantastic panel with us, so I guess we can start from my left to right. So I guess it looks crazy on everybody's screen. But I'm sorry, Annabelle, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Okay.
Sure. My name is Annabelle Pacheco, and I'm a technology integration specialist, and I'm actually from Nashville, Tennessee, via Puerto Rico.
Nice, fantastic. All right, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Gwilt. I am a teacher in Michigan. I teach high school math and biology.
Okay, fantastic. And Tara.
Hi, my name is Tara Linney. I'm an instructional coach located in Crest Hill, Illinois, just south of Chicago.
Somebody's cheering for you here, so I guess we have some Illinois fans in the house, or maybe some Tara fans in the house. All right, fantastic. So just really quickly, we're just going to go ahead and review the leaderboard. So let me pull that up. It will be posted to our GEG DMV group, which is at bit.ly/GEGDMV. I'll put that up in just a second. But here's our leaderboard. Has not yet been updated, but as soon as it is updated, then it will be posted to the group so you can see your points. Remember, you get to level up at 50, and at 100 you get a nice little prize, and those have finally come in the mail. So whoop whoop on that. Just to give you a little overview of some things that got moved around in our group. So I'm just going to share the screen one more time with you guys. Screen share, where are you? Here you are, yay. Okay, so share, and here we have, we've kind of consolidated everything and moved things all in our About This Community area. So here you have the links to the pages of the two co-moderators, as well as our member map, a Twitter list, a Voxer lottery link if you want to get lucky and get your Voxer points. Is right there, as well as a member directory right here. So that's where everything is, nice and handy. And I don't know why I just went back to the leaderboard, but now putting it back onto the screen thingy. All right, so here we go. So this week our topic is coding, and we're so honored to have all of the fantastic panelists with us. So guys, going to ask you guys, what is your definition of coding? And we're going to go backwards this time. So, Tara, if you could tell us what your definition is of coding and what experience you have regarding coding.
Okay, so coding involves critical thinking and problem solving and collaboration and creativity. And so what coding is, it's the backbone of everything that you do that utilizes technology. So all of your social media, your Twitter, your Instagram, all of that, there's coding behind that. All the devices that you use, there's coding behind that. So coding is a part of our everyday life in a lot of ways. And then also my background in coding is I led an all-girls coding club at an all-girls public charter school this past spring, and I'm actually working on a project with some members from our Google Certified Teacher cohort on getting coding to be a part of the curriculum. So we're working on some really fun things.
Okay, that is exciting. That is so exciting. So looking forward to seeing what the future has in store. So Jennifer, what about you? What is your definition of coding, and what is your experience with coding?
My experience is I spent 14 years in the computer industry before teaching. So I was in a computer programming development program, coded a bit, and then I went back and taught it. And then from there I went into teaching high school math and bio. And as far as coding goes now, it's pretty much interrelated with everything we do anymore. Anytime you make something easier with tech, you're probably coding something, whether macros or doing block coding, putting stuff together that makes a loop, whatever it is. So I will probably be running a coding club here pretty soon at school. Some students have already asked me to help out. I'm not up on all the new languages, so I'll be learning with them. So that ought to be entertaining.
Fantastic. And what about you, Annabelle? What is your experience with coding, and what is your definition of coding?
Well, as far as the definition, pretty much the ladies got it covered, so I don't really need to go over what the definition of coding is. But my experience comes from my time in the military. You know, I mean, we spend a lot of time building processes and databases to track every single thing that makes the Army move. And that's what led me to get into EdTech a little bit because that was part of my job when I was in the Army. I built a lot of databases to track, you know, parts, bullets, you know, anything the soldiers uses. Beyond that, I also have a lot of experience doing beta testing for a lot of vendors. You know, like when products come out, they'll send them to me. And the way that I got into that was because I speak Spanish. So a lot of these programs, they will ask me, hey, translate this into Spanish. And that's kind of led me into getting interested in learning what actually goes behind into the programs. And that's just a little bit of that. Yep. And that's my experience.
Very nice, very nice. So that is fantastic. So coding is pretty much everywhere from what you all were saying. So why should students learn how to code would be my next question. And anyone can feel free to jump in on this one here.
So I think that it's important for a lot of different reasons. One being that in learning how to code, it's not just that they're learning something that's going to greatly benefit them in the future in a society where students are going to be creating the jobs that they're going to be working in. You know, like we're getting them ready for jobs that don't exist yet. In the more immediate time frame, it is important because when you're coding, you're learning a language, and so you're learning the syntax and the process that comes along with that. So we're always taught that in learning a new language, it's best to start when you're like 3 to 5 years old, you know, because then you can become bilingual and things of that nature. So I think that coding is something that's important to get into the curriculum because the earlier that students learn how to do it, the more likely they are to stick with it. In addition, it's not something where it's like, this is computer science. This is what we do in computer lab. Like there are a lot of cross-curricular benefits in learning how to code. Students learn how to think critically about things. They learn decision-making steps. Like they learn what a process is and how to iterate. And my big thing is with learning how to code in the classroom, like students learn how to iterate. You know, iteration is like doing the same thing over and over again, but changing it so that you are working towards success, even if you're failing along the way. And right now in education, that's kind of not allowed, you know, but coding provides a safe place for students to actually practice that, because if you look at how real life is outside of school, it's all about iteration. You know, you try something, if you don't get it right the first time, you change your way. And so we're teaching them to be citizens of the real world.
I definitely agree with what Tyra's saying, but I will add to that coding does a lot more than just teach students all these other things. It also helps them to become problem solvers and to be good collaborators, team members with one another. Because one of the things that I've been seeing a lot of in the EdTech scene is they're saying, well, why so much emphasis in coding if it doesn't have anything to do with all the other subjects? But what I think they don't realize is beyond what the students are learning, it actually opens their minds to creativity. You know what I mean? Because they start seeing things that they will normally not see in the subjects that you usually teach in your classroom. So, like you was mentioning, they start thinking beyond the problems that they actually got in front of them, and that's where new ideas are born. And I think that's what is needed to kind of change what's going on in the landscape in education right now.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. As far as the problem solving goes, teaching math and teaching algebra, students don't get immediate feedback on whether they're right or wrong. They can plug it in. They don't really like to do that probably. But with coding, if you're coding something, you put it in the computer and it comes back and it's wrong. They can save face. They can just go back and fix it and make it right. They don't get marked down. It gives them a chance to see that failing is an option and that it doesn't have to be permanent. It gives them a chance to go back and look at something and find out what's wrong with the process and get a chance to fix it, because many times they don't go and look at how someone else coded something, but this gives them a chance to actually go in, look at it, see what's wrong with it, fix it, come up with a plan. A lot of times they don't get chances to do that, make a plan and carry it out and see it be successful.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. These are all great ideas, and I believe we were talking a while ago. Tara, I believe that you were saying that in Europe, then that's in England, that's part of the curriculum, part of the national curriculum now. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, so they announced it, I guess, last September or October, and they announced it like in one of their papers, which I got a hold of like last October, and it was like the UK is making coding a part of the curriculum, and it's like their K through 12 equivalent. And so actually code.org is over there now working with teachers and working with students to make coding like a regular part of like a student's day in their equivalent of like our K through 12 system. So yeah, which I think is great. And then upon reading that, I'm like, why are we not doing that here in the States? Like, you know, our big push is testing, our big push is Common Core. Well, we're not trying. I think that in education we need to like kind of focus on future-oriented solutions, and that doesn't necessarily revolve around passing a test.
Amen.
Yeah. I think with coding, it crosses all the boundaries. We don't have it just as a coding class. I'm sure that's what they're doing overseas. Coding comes into play in everything. I mean, it comes into play in English, science, math, history, you name it. There's apps popping up all over the place for everything. And if you're using Excel and macros, that's still coding. It crosses all the borders of our curriculum. So it involves many, many people and not just a few teachers.
Absolutely, absolutely. So panel, what resources could you suggest to teachers who want to use coding in their classroom, if they want to get started, or maybe even some intermediate solutions? Anything you'd like to share? Maybe.
So I would. Sorry, I like to do a 3-second wait first. So I would start by having teachers go to code.org. Code.org has a lot of great resources. They're very like block-based coding, so it makes it easy to use and understand like the visual aspect of coding. Then once teachers and students graduate from that, you get into something more like Code Academy, and then you're learning actual languages and you're creating things in that capacity. But I think particularly individuals who are new to the coding environment, I think that it's okay to start with block-based coding, but I also think that it's appropriate to kind of graduate out of that into more language-based learning once the like area of expertise is reached.
So could you break down a little bit what you mean by block coding and language-based coding for those people who might not be familiar with those terms?
Yes. So block-based coding is like your different iPad apps. So you've got Scratch and Tinker and let's see, CargoBot, Hopscotch, Codable. You've got a lot of different apps out there that require students to use basically Lego type of blocks to connect them to make a robot or actor or something move. So those are block-based coding tools. The more language-based are your C++, your Java, your JavaScript, your Ruby, your Python. You're using actual like lines of code where instead of moving blocks, you're actually typing like the input and then receiving the output. So it's more what goes on when you use WordPress to like build a website or something.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Does anybody else have any resources or good advice for any teachers who are beginning to implement coding in their classroom?
Well, I've been putting together some, I love Pinterest, and you ladies are going to laugh at me, but, the ladies are the ones that are in Pinterest, but I'm on Pinterest. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm a very visual learner, so I've been collecting resources on my Coding for Everyone board on Pinterest. And basically, you got everything there. So you have your pick of what you can do with coding and all the different resources that are out there right now on the internet. And I'm gonna share that here on the chat room, the link to my board, and that way you can go and check it out at your leisure. But pretty much like Tara said, code.org. I would also recommend the Scratch Ed initiative, by MIT. That's another good one, and the reason why is because they already got curriculum and lessons set up for teachers, so it'll make it easier. Because I was reading on a board, and a teacher was trying to start a club like Jennifer, but he was like, hey, I don't know any coding. I don't know how to write any lines. And I was like, well, you done an Excel spreadsheet. You probably done some macros or gone on Google and copied stuff from other websites. So you have done coding. You have done an initial HTML website, or if you have a WordPress blog and you go back and you mess up with the HTML, you done coding. It's just some of those things that you do in daily life that you don't realize that you're actually doing coding. And the other thing is, because of the PLN and all the teachers and educators that we know, you really don't need to be an expert to teach your students how to code. You just got to know the right people, and then you can connect with those people, and you can use Google Hangouts, Mr. Skype. You bring them in the classroom, and that's how you get your students to actually get interested. And that also shows another side of you as an educator, because it shows your student, hey, my teacher doesn't know everything, but he or she is not afraid to actually go out there and seek resources to make us go where we need to go. So.
Right. I have a developer that's working on an app that said that he would, connect with us in the classroom over Google Hangout or a Skype, so that kids can actually see that someone does exist behind the code. One of the things that we use in algebra is bootstrapworld.org. It's East Coast, I believe, created a curriculum that goes with algebra, so that there's two different pieces, Bootstrap 1 and Bootstrap 2, that they actually go with algebra, and it makes some tie-ins between functions in algebra and functions in coding and things like that, so that the kids can make those connections, and then they actually learn how to code. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Nice. And all of the resources that you all have shared, or most of them, are available in the Showcase app. So for the viewers who are watching this, if you click on the little yellow tags, and you'll be able to see everything in Showcase. Several different resources that can help you on your coding journey. So feel free to check those out. And also, if you have any questions, then just check out the Q&A feature, and we can definitely relay these to the panel. So fantastic, fantastic. So let me ask you all this. I don't see a lot of teachers making their own apps for their classroom. What do you think about that now in terms of teachers coding? Would you have any suggestions for teachers doing their own coding as well?
I'm thinking I don't have time.
I'm gonna try to take a stick at that, from my point of view, because I think one of the problems that we have in education and in EdTech is the people that is in IT, they actually make teachers afraid of actually using technology instead of actually helping them to embrace technology. That's been my experience. Because how many of y'all have been on the other end where you have the IT guy telling you, oh, this is the way that we do it, and that's the only way. And, that kind of make you feel more afraid to actually take a leap and try to go and learn things on your own. That's why I call myself the friendly guy, because I never work in an IT department, and my background is actually not in teaching. I have a whole different background. So I'm a completely outsider. But the reason why a lot of teachers don't try to develop their own apps, in my opinion, is because they don't want to seem like, oh, I'm failing. I'm actually going to try to develop an app, and what is people going to think of me if I fail? But one of the things that I always tell teachers is, hey, try stuff. Go ahead and take a leap of faith. Like I usually tell teachers, especially with WordPress, it's one of the things that actually it's not coding, but it's kind of like coding, because you got to go and learn the databases and all these other things. So that's like an easy way to get started, and it actually leads into other things, because you can use that in your curriculum with the blogging part, and you can teach your students how to blog and how to set up their own blogs and do the WordPress coding and all that other stuff. And I thought all that myself. But that's one of the things. I'm just kind of like one of those guys that go out there and do it. And if I fail, I just, like Jennifer said, I just try again and try to fix it, which is what coding in essence is. You learn it, you fix it, you break it, and you try over. You start all over again.
So I think, I agree with that completely. And I would agree, the problem is that teachers as educators, we're expected to always be perfect and always be the best, and it counts in our evaluation if we do anything wrong. And so iteration is just not in the mindset for education management like it should be. And so in order for it to trickle down into the classroom, and in order for teachers and students to be on board with the idea of iteration, I think that it needs to start on top, so that individuals who want to pursue this know that it's not going to count against them if like they mess up along the way, if they don't get it right the first try, because in coding, like, you're not expected to get it perfect the first time around, you know. Well, you know.
Well, and I absolutely agree with that. That is another issue because you got to have the support of your administrators. If they're not on board and they're not the leaders, you know, leading the way and saying, hey, Jennifer, Tara, you know, you guys are going to be leading these projects, or you guys are starting these projects with your students, and we're 100% behind you, then it's not going to work, no matter how much effort you put into it. The admins definitely got to be behind you, and they got to be the cheerleaders saying, hey, this is a good thing. It's all about modeling the behaviors that you want your students to adopt. And this is not only for your students, this is also for your parents. Because I was in a chat a couple of days ago, and one of the teachers, one of her questions is, well, how am I going to sell parents into letting me use Twitter with the students? And it goes back to the same thing with coding. You have to model the behaviors and to show them what is the value added. Okay, what is in it for the students, what is in it for the parents, and what is in it for the admins. And then once we get in that mindset, I think we can move forward from that and say, okay, let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Right. One of the things that I didn't create apps in my previous school was that we had BYOD, so for me to go out and try and figure out how to code something for them with all the different devices, it was a headache for me to even think about, so I just didn't do it because I had tried, you know, hopscotch, things like that, but we don't have iPads, we don't have, you know, what we need to run some of the apps. This year I have one-to-one iPads, so that's a whole different game, because now we have iPads and I can look at using hopscotch and things like that. And with new iOS 8 coming out, they have Swift, which is C, but maybe a little bit simpler with object-oriented and stuff. But now with a common platform, it would be easier for me to actually, you know, use coding rather than try to figure out how to code it for each different device.
All right, that totally makes sense. It's a lot of different devices, like you said. So yeah, absolutely. But it's definitely an avenue worth exploring. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways for educators to get started. One that I use is called appypie.com. So that one's been a pretty cool one with drag and drop and things of that nature. But I personally would like to learn to code better, because right now my knowledge is like this big about coding. But okay, but this is fantastic advice. So really quickly, we're going to move on to this week's challenges. Just for the members of the GEG, DMV, and of course we always want more. But last week's challenges are still on the board. If you have not already done so, they just went down a point, but you can still do them. So Tara mentioned a fantastic challenge about the hour of code. What was that again?
So with the hour of code, you can actually go through and complete one of their hour of code activities, and when you do, you get a certificate that says, like, you've completed, like, the hour of code, you've coded X number of lines.
So that is fantastic. So if you are able to get that that certificate this week, then that is good for 5 points. So that is one great way to do it. So just take like a little screenshot, post it to the group, and bam, there you go, 5 points for you. Another challenge is to post a resource in the Google Plus community for coding. And third one, I believe we were talking before we actually went live, and you all mentioned a hashtag for coding. Kids Can Code. So
yeah.
Is that a weekly chat, or is that like just something that people post to?
It's something that people post to, but it's also led by Codable, and so it's Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern time, I believe.
Okay, great. So, GEG DMV members, if anybody participates in that, you know, we can hopefully snag a little storify, and that will be good for another 5 points. So those are the 3 challenges for this week. Also, we have our weekly Voxer lottery thingy. So let me go ahead and pull that up. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and let's see who wins this week. Will it be a two-peat? Will it be Krista Morgan again?
A three-peat.
All right. Will it be Carla again for the 4th time? Let's see what happens. So let's go ahead and grab our names. and of course your name stays in there until you win, and then it gets cleared out. So if you've been doing it every week, then you probably have a bunch of entries. So, ooh, what in the world? Okay, well, whatever. Let me spin this wheel, and let's see who our winner is. It is Carla again. Wow, she is on a roll. So Carla is on a roll, and we've made a rule since this wheel loves Carla so much. Then what we'll do is that every time she wins, we'll pick a second winner as well, since it loves her so much. So let's do it one more time. Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? Ebony! So hooray! Congratulations to Carla and Ebony. You are our Voxer lottery winners. Yay for you. So, so those are pretty much the challenges for this week. So, just in closing, does anyone have anything that they'd like to say? Any final comments before we go ahead and sign off here? I guess we'll go. Let me see. We started with Tara last time, so let's start with Annabelle this time. Do you have any closing comments that you'd like to share?
Well, my only closing comments is, and you know, you heard me say this before. You know, I mean, my favorite mantra thing to say is ask, connect, and collaborate. And I'm a big fan of social media and Twitter and the chats. And for the teachers that are watching and those that are on Twitter following the feed, is like there's tons of resources out there, other teachers that will help you on the journey to, you know, show your students how to code. And you don't have to be an expert. That's the thing that you need to keep in mind. You don't have to be a programmer. You just got to have the desire and the passion to want to move your students forward and show them that these opportunities actually exist. And like Tara was saying in the beginning, you know, I mean, you're not just getting them ready to get their diploma and move on to college, but they're also learning real world life experiences that will actually help them become the citizens of the future, not just digital citizenship, you know, just the citizens of the future that are actually going to change our world. So with that, you know, the sky is the limit. They can go out there and do anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that is a great point to keep in mind, looking towards the future. Great. So what about you, Jennifer? Do you have any closing words?
I totally ditto what Annabelle just said. And the only way that you fail is don't do it. So go out there and try it, and you will be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any failed lesson can always be tweaked, and my air quotes, my computer's lagging, so I just have to put my air quotes up multiple times. But yeah, so definitely, there's no such thing as a failed lesson. It can always be tweaked, and you can always start over. All right, great. And Tara, do you have any closing comments?
Yes. So, like when coding. When you're coding in your classroom with your students, one thing that I like to do is utilize the ask 3 before you ask me type of instruction, because that encourages students to interact with one another, and that also exposes students to like the collaboration aspect that happens in coding. Too oftentimes we label coding as something that happens by some like guy who's in this like dark lab and he's by himself in front of a computer and he doesn't connect with anyone. And the way that coding is nowadays, like that's not how it is. That's not how like a lot of these sites are being made and these apps are being made. And coding just isn't about like apps and sites. I mean, a lot of things are happening in robotics that have coding behind it. So don't think of coding as just like my students are doing this iPad app and that's where it ends. Think of like the possibilities for other opportunities for them once they're done with the app. So like it doesn't stop and end with one platform, and it doesn't stop and end in the classroom.
I would add that when you talk about robotics and apps, your toaster, your TV, your refrigerator, your microwave all have coding.
Yes, most definitely.
It's everything. It's coming alive.
Absolutely.
In a good way.
and I would add something else to what Tara just mentioned, because you know the days of, you know, the guy in the room by himself, those days are gone. If you look on the internet, you know, especially on YouTube, and you look at any of these videos of these companies like Facebook, YouTube, Google, or whoever it is, you don't see people in a cubicle by themselves. They all are in an open room, one sitting right next to each other, looking at each other's lines, seeing what each other's coding, comparing notes, and it actually shows the spirit of collaboration. You know, they still have a long way to work on diversity according to the latest postings on Twitter, but that's a whole different story. But as far as collaboration, you can tell that coding is all about collaboration. Everybody coming together, getting their ideas, and trying all of these things that actually make our world work.
Absolutely, yes. Coding is all around us, and you know, you definitely have to approach it with a growth mindset. So this was a fantastic discussion. So just wanted to thank everybody on our panel. Thank you all so much for joining us and for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge and expertise. This was fantastic. I'm sure that you all have inspired some teachers to get out there and go code. So fantastic. And thank you to everyone who tuned in as well. Just a reminder that all the resources are shared in the Showcase app. So if you open this Google Hangout from the event page, then you should have access as well when you play it back in real time. So thank you all so much, and see you next Sunday. We'll have a brand new topic, but this week, let's go ahead and get these challenges knocked out so that we can get our special prize. Not saying what it is. All right, guys. Well, have a fantastic week, and thank you so much.
Thanks again for the invite.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.